change your mind about maths. Can we give our students a fresh way to approach their maths learning? Can we change their mind about maths? That's the overall remit for us. This is an action research project which has been adapted into a collaborative CPD programme, which is aimed, as it says on the screen, empowering teachers to tackle maths anxiety and build maths resilience in the students through cross-college interventions. It shares a series of classroom interventions to the maths teachers, which they modify as a team to make more into their own styling for their own students, so that they can deliver it to all the learners across the college at the beginning of the academic year and beyond. So it becomes a continuous process. And the ultimate aim is to reveal to students that they can progress in maths. They can progress in maths by understanding the power of their mind, how they can tap into that power, and strategies for ongoing support. So who are we? Who are Warwickshire College Group? Well, we have over 1,000 GCSE maths students. We are in 7 sites across Warwickshire and Worcestershire, and we deliver the course in 1.5-hour lessons per week, which is not really enough, but that's what we have. There are 13 teachers in total across those 7 sites. Obviously, lots of people flip between the two, some full-time, some part-time. And there is just one action researcher, that's me, which I'd never be a team of one. We've been teaching totally remotely since March 2020. So I've not actually been out of this room, well, teaching wise, and seen any students or colleagues for 15 months. So the whole process has been a journey, as it has for other people as well, in trying to reach people. But what was our ultimate plan? My action research focus is motivation and engagement, specifically reducing maths anxiety in students by empowering teachers to recognise symptoms of maths anxiety and support students to develop a more resilient approach to learning maths. It's not, the plan is to introduce a takeaway toolkit of strategies to improve maths resilience in students throughout the academic year. It's not just a one-hit wonder in September, it's something that we can make sustainable. The existence of maths anxiety and its ability to thwart progress in maths learning is widely accepted and backed up by plenty of evidence. GCSE students in FE often lack confidence in maths, as we all know. Many have fallen off the maths bike so many times, it's hard for them to get back on again and again and again. The interventions are based upon works by Carol Dweck and Joe Bowler and Sue Johnston Wilder, who everybody knows I really like, amongst others, and are a mixture of adaptation, innovation and invention. And I think along the way, I don't know what I've invented, what I've plagiarised, but I've recognised it all in my report, so don't worry about things like that. They're an attempt to help all our students develop a more resilient approach to their learning and the struggles they often experience when learning maths. It's not intended to be one size fits all. It wants to be considered as an ongoing pedagogical experience for the staff, and as well as inspiring FE colleagues to develop their skills through their own action research. But ultimately, we want to give students ownership and strength to succeed. That's the ultimate aim. We don't lose sight of that. It is all about them. So what data did I collect? I had the original 2019 data. The original intervention resources were developed in 2019 and intended to be presented to students. But this couldn't happen due to COVID and continued remote learning. I had established from the previous year's data some really sound baseline data, which showed that our students' negative attitudes surrounding their abilities to succeed in maths were in line with the previous research. Yet many of our students valued maths as an essential skill, and some even liked learning it despite their struggles, which I thought was quite hopeful. But I needed another way of testing these interventions, another way of using them, because I couldn't use them with students. We considered the MIFEC report recommendations surrounding bespoke CPD for FE environments, and therefore we made some adjustments. 3 staff development sessions were delivered instead. Again, they had to be remotely, and because of the changes in timetabling, they were really only given very short periods of time, so it was very quick and fast, but we managed to do it. I collected some new baseline data from the team, maths team, all about what they knew about maths anxiety, growth mindset, and maths resilience, get an idea of where we were, the starting point, as well as getting an understanding of their current practices for encouraging persistence and perseverance in their learnings. And also after each session, which was a rolling feedback throughout the session, there was a feedback form to actually find out what they thought of it. So the key findings before delivery. So this is the original find out what people know already amongst the team. And these are people I hadn't seen for 20 months. Some I've never even met because they're new staff and on across the site. So it was quite interesting for me to have this information about colleagues, because there's no staff room chat that I've been party to. But all teachers did something to motivate students in an attempt to address anxiety. This is a bit inconsistent, not necessarily consciously thought through, but all valid and with some effectiveness, but not ensuring all students had the same experience, not necessarily reaching all our learners. There were similarities in how they verbally addressed it within their pedagogical styles, but again, it was quite hit and miss and not prescribed, robust or rigorous. The common themes were that there was a lot of patience, a lot of positivity, a lot of praise, trying to build in some fun aspects, encouraging mistakes, embracing mistakes. Some used differentiation, some used little private one-to-one chats and occasional general reassurances during expositions. But there were a lot of gaps as well. There were inconsistencies. Most teachers had not heard of the work by Jo Boaler nor the growth zone model. Some had heard about the growth mindsets, but few really considered it or had a deep understanding of it at the start of the project. They hadn't read much about maths resilience, they hadn't explored it or consciously applied it. As I say the word consciously because some of the things that they do would match in with applying those things, but they hadn't got the theory, hadn't learned the theory themselves. Only 2 members of staff had read any literature on by the key authors I've mentioned, Jo Boaler, Sue Johnson-Wilder. Most of them recognised that the avoidance strategies students use, like I don't know, before even trying it or looking at the question, or doing minimum work or none at all. Most of us recognised those strategies and agreed that it could be maths anxiety or it could be bad behaviour. And it was difficult to distinguish between the two. Nevertheless, they all agreed that students' state of mind had, whether anxious, negative, positive, had a significant impact on their learning attitudes and outcomes. After the delivery of the sessions, I say the collaborative nature of the sessions worked well, with most people making contributions about the elements to improve. We were online, pitching in and having a talk about it. I think it would have been better if we had been in 3D in the same room, throwing bits of paper around, having conversations. But as I say, that we still managed to collaborate, which I thought was really, really useful. And I think as an ARG of 1, and only recently acquired my online remote teaching skills, I feel it was a bit lackluster in its delivery. I think it's certainly something that I would prefer to have delivered in a group situation. But the takeaway interventions were very well received, and the general consensus was positive, and the decision to use the interventions during the first few weeks in September 2021 has been welcomed. It was felt that being involved in the development was certainly better than having something imposed. I think if you had just been given something, maybe not use it, and because we've all talked about it and collaborated on some of it and tweaked it, that was much better than just being told to do something. Our more experienced teachers felt it was good to be reminded of certain things like learning styles, which they already know, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. But like the idea of making them more explicit and relating to maths learning. A lot of things is very much related to learning maths rather than just a general theory. It's specifically how it can be used in the maths room. And there was lots to say. Examples of collaboration was it turned out that the college already had some sort of questionnaire that used to be used years ago, and we're going to bring that back because more staff that have been there longer found it really useful. So things like that came back in. The less experienced colleagues just liked all of it. They were just like, oh my God, this is amazing. You know, as they haven't been teaching as long, so they found the interventions, they thought they were really quite amazing because of so that was quite good. And all the staff like the practical resources, as I said before, especially the activities that were linked to how the brain worked, the actual biology of learning, and particularly the Getting Unstuck posters and other resources which are designed to be used throughout the year, ongoing sustainable resources. The continued use throughout the year was also very much welcomed, as I've just said, as well as the idea that it's going to be a cross-collegiate approach. All 7 sites are going to use it. We are going to do it. So all the students will get the same experience in that induction first few weeks. All the staff liked that the interventions were specifically designed for our GCSE resit students, especially the step-by-step use of strategies, the strategy posters in a maths question. So looking at a proper foundation question and showing how the student can use this step-by-step approach in order to, you know, be self-sufficient and supported in getting themselves through the questions that would normally frighten them off. And so far 3 members of staff have decided that they want to do some action research next year as well. So that's something that we're working on or looking at already. So that's quite exciting. From the outcome of all this in the short term is that we are going to deliver the package in September. The package will be printed, laminated, and everybody will get it as a pack. So they haven't got to go online and print it and sort it out themselves. It will be delivered as a pack, physically a takeaway package, as well as being available for them to tweak anything themselves. We may extend it to the network colleges, but we're not sure of that just yet. I'm hoping that there will be a small team that will actually repeat the baseline survey that was done 2 years ago and measure the impact on the students and see what can actually come out of that. And obviously it'd be a much wider sample than I was able to do on my own anyway. And with regards to the CPD side, Warwickshire College Group already embrace action research. In fact, I've got to do a presentation on it on Monday as a form of individual CPD. And instead of people having classroom observations, they do action research throughout the year. But I'm hoping that the maths department can lead the way in expanding this to more group action research, because that can not only improve teaching and learning, it embraces sharing good practice and building teams and having a wider sample to test people's ideas on. So although we have got action research, it's still a one-person research, and I think it needs to be bigger and team-based. And hopefully, as I say, encourage more people to work in an action research group. I haven't obviously given all the details of everything, but I thought I just picked out 3 slides that people, my team particularly liked. I mean, one session was called Our Amazing Brain. We had The Power of Yet and Get Out of the Boring Zone. They were the 3 main titles. And the one about how the brain works, I think people thought would really resonate with students. They might quite like that. And this is just one of the slides of one of the resources of what was there. Hopefully some of you are reading that now. It's something that's been around for years and years and years and years and years. But students, when they get to that point, in the middle of this reading, actually start going, oh my God, I can do this. And it's a nice thing to hear when students, it helps them to realise things. It's quite a particularly nice resource. We all agreed they really like this. Understand the brain as a muscle, behaves like a muscle. They liked all that. The other thing that was popular was this poster, which if you laminate A3 in the middle of a group table, and it's always there for the students, and in the delivery of the CPD, we worked together to pick out some sort of typical tricky questions, the wordy problem solving, 3 questions, then actually break it down and show the students how, ask yourself, what am I being asked to do? Answer that question, consider what do I do? And get the students to say, well, you know that and that. Okay, so what else do I need? And actually breaking it down step by step. And we taught them through all this all the time. We all do, it's part of teaching. But to actually have that, and again, this becomes a strategy that they can use themselves. And there was another toolkit poster as well, but it gives them the idea of also saying, yeah, I can't do it. Okay, can't do it yet. So what can you do? Let's break it down. And eventually it's like, oh, I can do it. So that was a popular one. And then support and perseverance. And then this, which is the growth zone model, slightly tweaked, looking at sort of life skills and where you would put that. Are you going to be in the comfort zone where nothing really happens? A bit of consolidation, obviously, but really you're not going to, if you just keep consolidating everything, you're not ever going to move. Avoiding the panic zone where you just freak out and your brain flips and you can't learn or reason or anything, and try and keep you in this growth zone, which I've called the learning zone. So the students look at life skills, and as I say, all group work, so they're starting to work together, understand each other, getting to know each other. And then we put together something that's actually maths based. These are the questions that we know they avoid. They are all those simple things they should all be able to do, but they can't. And where would they put those? So again, it's informative, but also it's for them as students to say, oh, you can't do those either. No, nor can I. Oh my God, is that what we have to do? And so we're getting that peer-to-peer support, which we know the Sutton Trust absolutely loves. So that's just a snapshot of some of the resources out there that the team particularly like. Just 3 examples. I call that Get Out of the Boring Zone. They're just 3 examples. I probably talked too quickly, but thank you for listening. And have I changed your mind about maths is my closing statement. Thank you very much.